Hello and welcome to this video for help with revising for the use of evidence. Okay, so let's do a quick review. In each and every paragraph that you write, you should follow the PEWO steps. You should start with a preview sentence, that's your topic sentence. You should follow with, and you don't have to do the E's in this order, but somewhere in there you should have a specific example, 2 sentences of analysis that explain how that example supports the main point of your paper, another example, another set of analysis that explains how that example supports your paper, and then you need to wrap it up. Remind your reader how it is that all of this works together to support your thesis, and then you need to rinse and repeat. So you're going to do the same thing over and over again. So I have some examples here to show you a few paragraphs, first of all, that fail to use specific examples or thoughtful analysis or explanation to develop those examples. And then I'm going to show you a really good one that does exactly what we need it to. Then I'm going to need you to evaluate your own paragraphs. Where are you lacking in your own explanation or your own use of specific examples? And how can you improve what you've said to make sure that you are proving your argument in a very strong way? Okay, so let's take a look at this article. I'm just going to read it for us as fast as I can. This article, New Voting Restrictions Aren't as Restrictive as Many Think, by Sarah Isgar, is an informative piece of text that argues that the need for voting restrictions can have a bad effect on people running for an election. In Isgar's article, you can tell she has a biased opinion on those voting restrictions, which helps strengthen her argument that these new restrictions can make the most difference in who wins and who doesn't. So, how many specific examples do I have in this article, in this paragraph? I hope you recognize that I have none. If you're going to make the argument that her article is biased, guess what you need to show me? Specific examples that the argument is biased. Otherwise, I have nothing to do but take you at your word or dismiss you because you haven't shown me what I need to know. So you can't make a claim without backing it up. Let's look at another one. Okay, this is a completely different paper topic. Let's read the paragraph together. The meaning of the term cool varies significantly among different cultures and is shaped by various culture, historical, and social factors. In some cultures, the word cool may signify rebelliousness, nonconformity, and a strong sense of self, while in others it may refer to fashion, elegance, and sophistication. It is important to note that cultural values, traditions, and beliefs play a significant role in determining what is considered cool in each society, and social media trends do not solely determine this definition. The meaning of cool varies and changes from one culture to the next, depending on the diverse ideas, beliefs, and life experiences of each culture's members. Okay, so how many specific examples do I have in this paragraph? I hope you recognize that I kind of sort of only have one. I at least have something from a source right here. But this author of this paragraph makes the point that cool varies. And he is really expecting me to just take the word of their source and doesn't illustrate for me how it happens. So I need this person to think, what are some examples from cultures that show that this is true? So could you give me an example, like for example, John Travolta in the movie Grease certainly signifies rebelliousness. So you could talk about how John Travolta in whatever year that came out, 60s, 70s, didn't necessarily stay the same definition of cool as what may be cool now. Now the signification of rebelliousness and nonconformity may come through an artist that looks completely different than John Travolta. So in the analysis here, I need you to think a little bit deeper. Don't just find stuff from your source and plop it together and expect that your argument is firm and strong. You got to think through how you can use examples to illustrate your argument. Let me show you another example of how this needs to be. All right, so this paper was about female superheroes, and let's read together. The hit that was Wonder Woman was a large step in the evolution of female superheroes in comic books. After this, there was a small break in female superheroes. Even though many people loved them, some didn't and believed that females should not be the main character of a superhero comic book. Heroines came back into play in 1970s and have continued ever since. These characters came back with bigger and better appearances and abilities. These heroes have flashy outfits and abilities like super speed, agility, and strength. These females were no longer on the back burner. They were front and center and finally appreciated it. Ever since, there have been more female superheroes being created constantly. These heroes inspire people of all ages daily, but especially younger girls who look up to the superheroes. Okay, so how many specific examples do I have in this paragraph? I would say the answer is 0-ish. I've got a lot of generalities about female superheroes, but I don't know who didn't love them. I don't know what heroes have the flashy outfits and the abilities like super speed, agility, and strength. I don't really know anything. So this paragraph is not going to be very memorable or very convincing because I have no examples for my brain to grasp onto. If I don't believe you, I'm not really convinced because you've offered me, if this is your paragraph, no specific evidence. So while this paragraph is longer, I wouldn't necessarily say it follows the PWU steps because all it has is explanation. It doesn't have any specific examples to back up the main points. Make sense? Okay, let me show you a paragraph that does this very well. All right, Allie Streeter, an African-American woman, shared a personal anecdote about an experience she had with her doctor when trying to explain a health concern she had back when she was in college. Streeter stated that 10 years ago, when she was attending college, she was fainting regularly, and that the doctor she had seen was dismissive and ignored everything she was saying. The doctor she was seeing wanted to direct her focus on an STD panel because she was reluctant that what Streeter had was syphilis. However, to have syphilis, you've had to have it for 10 years, which meant that Streeter had intercourse ever since she was 12. Streeter let the doctor know she was not having intercourse at that age and that she had only had one partner up to that point, but the doctor refused to believe what Streeter was saying. Streeter eventually stopped seeing the doctor, and 2 years ago she was told that she had complex migraines after her symptoms had worsened and she was rushed to the hospital. Streeter's anecdote is a prime example of the negligence and dismissive behavior a person of color can receive from a doctor because of the doctor's implicit biases. Why was the doctor dismissive about what Streeter said? Streeter's doctor could have helped her before the health concern had escalated. However, would the healthcare provider been so ignorant if she was a white individual? Furthermore, Streeter is not the only African-American woman to have felt dismissed by a physician. PubMed had conducted a study that had focus groups discuss experiences and relationships in healthcare settings. In the study, one of the 9 focus groups were divided into genders, and the content pertained to discrimination, mistrust, poor communication, and race discordance. Research revealed that African American patients, specifically women, felt as though their symptoms or problems had been discredited. This created poor communication because of the clinicians had not acknowledged the perspective the patients were given during the interaction they had. This research reinforces how this is not an isolated incident and that various African American people have felt the way Streeter did in her personal anecdote. These incidents only develop mistrust and situations where African American individuals feel discriminated against. So how many specific examples do I have in this paragraph? The answer is clearly 2. And I want to make a point about what this writer does. First, she uses an example that is personal and steeped in pathos or emotional value. She gives what she says is happening a face. And then she moves to a statistic. And this would easily be logos more so than the example about the woman. Because if you do not believe that this is happening, you could easily say, that's just one woman. But when she follows it with the logos here, then that shows that in the study 1 in 9 of the groups were divided into genders and then the content pertained to such discrimination. That it's happening shows that that specifically African American women felt as though their symptoms or problems had been discredited. So, by the pairing of the pathos and the logos, or the emotional example and the hard to argue against fact, she builds a much better argument, and one that we can remember and would be more likely to be persuaded by. She also has a little ethos or credibility established here by saying that she gives credit to who did the study. All right, so I hope that helps. I hope that helps you understand that you need to go through your argument and make sure that your argument is not shallow, make sure it's specific, and make sure it's well supported. And also make sure that, like this last example that we looked at, that you just straight out tell your reader, hey, here's what you're supposed to do with this example. I need you to use it to explain the point that you're trying to prove. And then your argument will be spot on. Let me know, as always, if you have questions.